Hi, everyone. This is the Spirit of Invincibility podcast, where we talk about everything that is invincible, big and small, and what that means to our guests. Today, I'm here with Lachi, and I'm so excited to talk about what the Spirit of Invincibility means to her. Lachi is a Grammy-nominated artist and author. I met her on the runway, and I am so excited to talk about what the Spirit of Invincibility means. For everybody listening who doesn't know the fabulous Lachi, let them know who you are.
Awesome. Okay, so my name is Lachi, like Versace. I am she, her. I am a Black woman with cornrows. I identify as blind, neurodivergent, Aries, and a New Yorker. So put all of that together and see what you get. I am a globally touring recording artist and songwriter and award-winning disabilities advocate. I travel the world talking about how amazing it is to do all the things I do as a blind woman. That's just my job. I am also an author and a TV personality. So I've done some hosting on PBS celebrating disabled heroes. As well, I am a producer. Actually, the Grammy-nominated project that we have in the running was for my production. So I'm like, girls behind the knobs. Okay. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, apart from the fact that I'm a Grammy national trustee, I'm also the CEO and founder of an organization called Ramped, Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. And we advocate for more musical integration of folks with disabilities who are working professionals in the industry. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm sticking to it.
Welcome to the podcast, Lachi. I'm so excited to have you here, talking about everything that you're working on, everything that makes you Lachi. So tell me, how'd you get your start in music? What was the first thing that inspired you?
So my mom tells me that while other babies were kicking in the womb, I was busy playing the keys against her stomach. And I don't know how she got a keyboard in there, but she's not a liar. So, um, all that's to say, I started super duper early. By like age 3 and 4, I was playing the piano. People were like, oh, she's a savant. She's the next Ray Charles. But interestingly enough, my parents being Nigerian were also like, music, what's that? Is that when you be a doctor? And I was like,
Mhm.
no, those are
Right.
two different things. So I went on a straight and narrow path. I went to college and like got a degree and got a job and, whatever. But as soon as I got out of school, I got a job working at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And I just,
Oh, amazing.
isn't that like, what a tidbit, what a factoid, what like a
Yeah,
humble brag.
right.
Um, but then I was kind of doing music on the side. And at one point I went down to South by with a guitar player friend of mine, and we played a hole in the wall, and a record label exec from one of the major labels showed up and was like, I love what you guys are doing. Here's my card. And so the guitar player and I, both being blind, we're fumbling with the card. We're trying to figure out what's going on. But anyway,
Mhm.
I end up getting signed as like a little kid. And I tell people it took me 4 seconds to sign my signature and 4 years to get out of that crazy contract.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it was, it was great, right? I had this major contract. My band and I were touring. We recorded an album, but they were kind of peddling us as the blind band. Oh, blind singer. It was very like kitschy. And
Hmm.
I didn't like that. Even though today I run around telling people I'm a musician and I'm blind and I'm very proud about it, I'm doing it from my own power, right? They
Exactly.
felt like
Yeah.
they were doing a charity model marketing gimmick. I get out of that deal. I end up getting signed to a major songwriting and producing management firm in the dance music space. And then that's where I kind of really got my legs under me writing for other people. I started writing with bigger artists. I have a co-write with Snoop Dogg, Styles P, et cetera, et cetera. And so,
Wow. Okay. Come on, Lachi.
okay, you know what I mean? Like, hello. I've done stuff with amazing people since then. I've worked with
Yeah.
Black Caviar and Evie Oddly, Apple to Apple, the Black Eyed Peas. And so we've done some really cool stuff. But at that time, I just wanted to be a writer because I loved not having to be an artist. And I actually really liked just kind of making money. And I saw what it took to be an artist. Like, you had to have a whole story. You had to be able to interface with other humans, which I wasn't liking at that time.
Right. Right.
But eventually, I just kept getting into bigger and better rooms, and I started advocating for myself because I wanted to do my best. Not even because it's like, "Oh, disability." It was like, "Hey, if you want me to do my best, I'm gonna need this, this, and that." As I advocated, I really began to envelop disability as part of my culture, and then recognizing how much better I was at shit when I was accommodated. And then COVID hit, and I just began to integrate disability advocacy into my artistry and artistry into my disability advocacy. And once I did that, I popped off as an artist. And, at that point, when people ask me, what do I do? Like, I feel like I'm saying this laundry list of a million things when really all I'm doing is entertaining people into giving a shit
Mhm.
about disability advocacy and awareness. And so there you have it. That's me. That's Lachi.
I mean, come on, Lachi. Everybody give Lachi a round of applause. Let's give her all the kudos. I mean, wow. So if you don't mind saying, what age was it when you were in your band?
Well, I started right when I got out of grad school. And so I
Okay.
don't necessarily want to age myself, but I will say I was in like my early mid-ish 20s. I feel like I was really smart. Like I was too smart to have signed the deal I signed.
Hmm. Yeah, but
But
young and eager and hungry and the opportunity, right?
well, they always tell you like, "Oh, read the fine print. Oh, don't do this. Oh, know your rights and your business." But when you're like a little black girl, right? And all the big white men in suits come and say, "We want to make you a star." Right?
Hmm. Yep.
All of the words start to run together, right? All of the like keys go right out the window. So it all kind of flew out the window. Young, eager, excited, and talented. That's just a recipe for exploitation. So
Right.
I feel like I'm okay with people exploiting as long as they're exploiting themselves and their own talent.
Exactly.
But music is just so rife with exploitation. So I try to do what I can for the next generation of mentoring folks into yes, it is really fun and great when you get those opportunities, but definitely be smart and ready and armed with an entertainment lawyer before
Exactly.
you jump into anything.
Yeah, know somebody who's really good at their job too, who can help protect you.
Mhm.
You touched on earlier how stepping into your own power is one thing from being marketed as a blind artist.
Sure.
What did that whole experience teach you?
One of the things I learned is that when I first signed, they were pitching me as a blind artist. I mean, we were good. We were good enough to get signed. We were fun. We were outgoing. But after I left that deal, I cut my teeth in the studio. I cut my teeth writing. I cut my teeth becoming really, really good. Like I was good before, and now I was an expert, right? I get re signed to this major management firm, and people are coming into my studio, a blind girl behind the knobs. I use my shortcuts, right? People are like, how are you doing this? Like, you've never even touched the mouse. And what I have learned is that a lot of folks who have disabilities or neurodivergences in the industry, they tend to try to hide it, right? Because they don't want to lose a gig. They don't want to damage a relationship. And I totally feel that. I totally hear it because I did it myself. But then I've learned that if you're just undeniably good, they want to give you accommodations.
Right.
They want to accommodate you. They want you at their studio. They want you at, you know what I'm saying? It's not like an excuse of like, well, I'm blind. You have to do it. It's like, I'm really, really freaking good. And if you don't accommodate me, I'm going to go somewhere else. And they're like, no,
Hmm.
no, no, let's get the thing. So when I'm mentoring folks, I'm like, be undeniably good. Be better than your competitor, like, period. So that's step
Yeah.
one. And so that made me realize that there's got to be a lot of other people that are really good that are also masking, right? That like got good at the thing and are
Right.
still masking. And that was
Right.
what made me want to create Ramped, which is like, hey, there's a bunch of working professionals out here who have neurodivergences, who have chronic conditions, and who are just winging it and trying their best through it when they could be mounds better if they just get this or that for them while they're there.
So tell me a little bit more about RAM.
I would say one of the best things we ever did was that mother freaking acronym because that shit is so good. Um, and
It is
I'm so
perfect.
proud of
It
it.
is
I
perfect.
know. I woke up one day and I was like, okay, I guess we're making this organization because this
Yeah.
acronym's too good. Essentially, what we do is equip the music and live entertainment industry with the resources needed to empower working music professionals and creators with disabilities, neurodivergences, chronic conditions, mental health conditions, etc., as well as we cultivate a global and growing network of said folks. So we'll do things like we've partnered with the Recording Academy, the Grammys. We're the ones that bring the ASL to the Grammys red carpet. We also do consultations and trainings with folks, everyone from the CMAs to Live Nation to Tidal. And we also throw songwriting retreats for our network where they pair up with world-class producers and songwriters. And then we pitch them to say like a Netflix, And then we also throw what we call disco house mixers, disco standing for disability community. And we bring executives from the music industry. We bring artists and executives from the Ramped member network. And everybody comes together and has a really great time in a highly accommodating space with a DJ from our community, NA liquor, labeled foods, floating sign language interpreters, sensory swag, all of the things to make everybody feel 100% included. And we've made such huge impact in the industry. You know, a lot of folks are being a lot more accessible and inclusive. A lot of folks are working with us on more accessible and inclusive policy, whether it be at their venues or at their workplaces for their workplace employees. They have gotten a ramp to the stage at the Grammys, but also we're working to get people in leadership. We want people at the boardroom in the Grammys. We want people in the boardroom at the CMAs, at Folk Alliance International, at Songwriters of North America, et cetera, et cetera. We're always happy to receive more and more donations. Everybody ramped.org, rampd.org. But we're really just grateful for the opportunity to make the music industry more accessible, because I truly believe that, you know, as hip hop has elevated Black culture and as country music has elevated rural culture, I believe music has the ability to uplift any kind of culture. And so Ramped is using music to uplift disability culture. And we're really proud of the impact we're having.
Bow down. Yes. To
Yep,
you,
yep.
Arthur, the whole team over at Ramped. I'm just so grateful to be in your circle. I mean, seriously, the difference that you're doing just from passion and drive and from, honestly, from what I'm seeing, the lack thereof, you know, it's you noticed a deficit and you're filling
Mhm.
a hole. You're
Yes,
providing a need to somebody who wasn't available to provide a need to you when you were that age. So
exactly.
I'd love to jump into where does your drive come from? Where does your passion come from? And what is that thing? And we call it on this podcast, that spirit of invincibility. What is
Sure.
that thing that makes you invincible? Like,
You know, I've been trying to figure that out because I believe it is just a combination of my full identity. Everything from my ADHD, which powers my 1 million and counting ideas, to my OCD, which makes me carry out those 1 million and counting ideas, to my general anxiety, which makes me empathetic and excited, to my blindness, which gives me my drive and my focus and my dope ass glam canes. You know, okay, so the book, right? Um, I feel like everybody's masking, right?
yeah,
And I feel like the reason why everyone's masking is because no one really knows how to talk about the hard, like taboo things about identity, things about disability, things about neurodivergence. And so we all just mask, but we're masking to each other. Everyone's just wearing masks.
right,
um,
right.
and so I'm
As
like,
RuPaul says, we're all in drag.
we're all naked, right? We all just have little costumes on. And so I think that really the issue is everyone is afraid of being pathologized. Everyone is afraid of, oh, if I show my real self, someone will think of me as too different, too much, weak, right? And, you know, I say you can be pathologized for being a woman, for being gay, for being trans, for being a straight white man, right? For anything. So I say you may as well celebrate your disability identity because it says fuck your pathology, right? um, and so here we are with I identify as blind, and it's just a bold celebration of identity, right? All parts of disability identity, pride, power. I talk about it with fun, joy, dad jokes, entertainment, interviews with celebrities and public figures who identify with disability and just how they navigate. And really, it's a fun romp to allow people to get more comfortable talking about this stuff with each other and within themselves, right? I didn't set out to write an academic book. I didn't set out to write a wrist slap book. I set out to write a bunch of dad jokes and rap bars strung together with interviews to have people laugh their way into giving a shit about disability identity. And that's what this
Right.
book is.
And experience too. It's your unique perspective on how
Mhm.
your identity has been shaped over your years. You talk about innovating your whole life. And as
Yes.
somebody who, listen, you might be from Nigeria as an immigrant, but I'm telling you, we grew up the same childhood, it seems like. My parents said, specifically my mom, go follow your dreams, go do
Sure.
what you want to do. And it was very much the same of go to college, get out of the house, go get a
Right.
job, go start your life.
Right.
Being an artist with a disability that you own yourself wholly, how do you innovate in your everyday life?
I think that my big pain point is no, right? You can't, right? If somebody says no or you can't, I say, sure, deuces, got you, period. They shut the door in my face and I go and look for the window. I don't even knock again. I've always had this, you can't, right? And from a very young age, I've always had this like, no, she can't. How do you? And then I always just kind of crawl over to the other side and get in through the side door. So I'm so used to like nose just rolling off.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a big driver. Early in my life, my mom said every no is just short for not yet, right? It's NO
Love
and
that.
then T space YET.
Yeah.
Um, and that's always kind of stuck with me as like, okay, so I can't reach that, but I can reach this and then reach that. That's always kind of been my thing. But also, as I came into being more confident, I have always been trying to make sure that I accommodate myself, but am still myself, if that makes sense. So, this idea of like the glam canes, right? When I was super young, my mom gets me a cane, I throw it into the street, and I rolled over it with my bike. So I was like, I'm never gonna use this thing. I wanna kill it. But the problem was that I needed a cane. Like, yeah, like I'm
your
walking
mom,
into trees
your
and
mom's
shit.
like, okay, girl.
Yeah, yeah. She was like, "All right, go for it. Like, go for it. You do you." So, after years of not using a cane and missing deal-making handshakes, right? People thinking I'm standoffish because I'm not waving back. Me, like, hugging an old friend and realizing it was a light pole. So I'm using the cane again, and then I realized, like, wait, this cane doesn't match who I am, but it's supposed to be an extension of myself. And that's when I started glamming up the canes to match my outfits. I even have one right here. See her? Isn't she cute?
Yes.
She's a beaut.
Yes.
Yeah. She was my Grammy's cane from last year. We wore this whole big sort of aquamarine getup. So all of this is to say that like it's really about recognizing what you want and how you're going to get there.
Hmm.
So a lot of the times people would take my shoulders and tell me to go left. They were like, "You should do rock music. You should do R&B music or no, you should do this, do that, do this, do that." It's like, "Okay, who am I and what do I want?"
Right.
Now, I need to know what I want. I don't even have to know how I'm going to get there. I just need to know what I want. And then once I know what I want, getting there is the easy part.
Hmm.
Knowing what you want, that's the part where you have to sit down, tear all of those internalized isms that have piled on top of the inner child you were trying to protect, tear all of those out. Look at your inner child and say, hey, remember back when life was free and everything was whimsical? What did we want? Whether it was to be a dancer or a singer or a lawyer or to marry free, how do you make that you now?
Hmm. How long have you been talking to your younger self, your inner little Lachi?
My inner little Lachi. Honestly, if you're saying when did I just take the whole thing off and
Yeah.
just go, okay, let's start from the nub.
Right.
I would have to say it was, during COVID, we all had to sit with ourselves for a second and like get to know ourselves a little bit, right? Like,
Hmm.
okay, everyone around us is dying. We're 6 feet away from the nearest person. Who am I? And I remember a big like catapult point for me was George Floyd um, because we had to be angry alone.
Hmm.
You know, we
Yep.
had to like look at this tragedy and look at what America was and look at like racism and brutality and all of that by ourselves. And so I realized that I don't actually have community. Like I have friends and
Mm.
I have like musicians that I hang out with, but I don't have community. I started with women community and then I found
Okay.
out I was too black. Then I went for black
Oh.
community. Then I found out I was too disabled. So then I realized like I need to just build Black disability community, maybe like queer disability community. I had to like start combining my identities and really building my own community. And it was a big catalyst for Ramped. And my longtime manager from that big music management firm had died to COVID early. So I had
Oh,
to
wow.
reinvent like my own music career as well. So what I had realized when I was young was as a daughter of Nigerian immigrant parents, was I was supposed to be seen, not heard, right? And also that pride was bad, right? You shouldn't celebrate yourself, right? So I always wanted to be heard and I always wanted to be celebrated, but I had to always die that down. So today I am using my voice to celebrate all the deepest parts of myself.
What era would you say of your, I don't know what to call it, of your um what era of Lachi are we in today?
Oh, I love that you asked that. So electronic dance has been my bread butter, my love. I've worked with some of the biggest names, Marcus Schultz, Armin van Buren, done some D&B, done a lot of really, really cool stuff. However, I liked it because I didn't have to show my face, right?
Mhm.
And it'd be funny because I would go into the club and people would be like, wait, you're black? I'd be like, okay. Um, but these days, now that I'm singing and really talking about identity and culture and disability, I'm going beyond genre. So the Grammy Award nominated project that I executive produced was an album called The Colors in My Mind by Chris Redding. He is the lead artist. I performed on a lot of the songs, but it was just really nice to be able to overarch and be the producer. This album was like a new age meets neo soul meets sort of R&B meets ambient. So we talked a lot about neurodivergence, his neurodivergence experiences. I myself am neurodivergent. We got other neurodivergent artists and other Grammy winning artists onto this project. It's just this foray into discussions of healing, neurodivergence, love, deep things like not needing a cure. Right. And then that project ended up getting Grammy nominated. I mean, people loved the authenticity of us all coming together. Right now, I'm also working on a pop kids album that centers on disability and neurodivergence. And I'm working with a gentleman named Andrew Barkan, who's also a Ramped member, a bunch of Ramped members on that Chris Redding project as well. But we're working now in children's music, have these discussions of disability and neurodivergence because I felt like if I were a kid and I got to sing these songs with my parents, we'd be a lot further along. So that's what we're working on now. So these messages go beyond genre, but I'm also rapping. We've had a few things go viral on TikTok and Instagram, just talking openly about navigating life on hard or like, bitch, I'm a professional. You may see me and not think so, but bitch, I am. And just really just hardcore bad bitch energy raps or The Bag, which is a huge one of like, I deserve
Uh,
everything. I don't
yes,
care
I
who you
love it.
are.
Yes.
Yes, The
Can
Bag
we
is
have
definitely
can we ha
one.
can we have a taste now?
Oh my God. Let me get Chanel high boots and Bugatti for the hoops and a fresh press suit with a coupe for the group. Want it all brand new with them Cinderella shoes. Go and give me those two. Woo. Go and throw it all in a bag. Got a whole stack of bands finna make these bitch gag. You say you like me. Don't you know I'm pricey? If you're trying to see me, fly me.
Bam! That's right, honey. If you try to see me, fly me. That's right, honey. Because she gets there and she gets there fast and on time.
Because.
Because why? Because the world has been made
Because. Well,
accessible
because
for
you know
her.
what? And you know who said they like that song? SZA. So thank you, SZA.
Oh,
Always shouting out.
oh my gosh, Lachi. What does that feel like from early Lachi to now? And we're not even at the top of Lachi. We haven't even seen Mount Everest yet. So
Oh yeah, we're still.
yeah, what's the difference in feeling?
Listen, first of all, getting a deal from Penguin Random House is large. I mean, it's the biggest publisher, period. And the imprint, which is actually from Phoebe Robinson's imprint, Tiny Rep. And Phoebe is a famous Black comedian. And just to be on her imprint, somebody that I already looked up to, is great. But there is something about scrolling through your follows and seeing people who followed you, and you're like, what? Bob the drag queen? Are you serious? Why are you following me? What I do? Like, what did I do?
Honey, you did everything. You did everything.
Okay.
That's why.
But you know what I mean? You go through and you're like, why are these people calling us? Like, why do they want me on their show? And then you think to yourself, because you've worked it. I was sitting in the Grammys trustee room, right? Sitting across from Taylor Hanson from the Hansons.
Oh my
I was
gosh,
just
that
like,
was my first concert. I was on my mom's
really?
shoulders. I was in third grade, Hanson.
Oh, that's so
You had to
cool.
bring a canned good. That was your ticket. That was your access to the concert.
I remember going back to like my early, very, very early childhood scribblings in my journals. of like what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said at 8 years old that I wanted to be a musician with a music studio in Manhattan. What?
Wow. Do you still
And
have that piece of paper?
I know, I do. Actually, it's in the cupboard over there. The crazy thing about it is that I had to set out to make the industry better for myself. When I Googled disability and music, nothing came up. Now it does with Ramped, right? I'm writing the book I wish I had.
Hmm.
I have the glam canes and, we sell those. And so it like just warms my heart to see like a 16-year-old girl go to a Swiftie concert with her glam cane, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
on a first date, or like a grandma buying it for her son as he graduates. So to be able to pave these ways that I didn't have, that's where I feel amazing. It's awesome to see the Bob the Drag Queens or to be in those places, but to be able to actually make the impact where people are living loud and proud, not hiding, not masking, but celebrating their deepest part of themselves that I couldn't celebrate at the time I was 8. That's why I wake up.
Yep. Yeah.
That's why I get out of bed.
I mean, that's a damn good reason to wake up.
In 2022, the first time I went to the White House,
Uh,
I remember calling my mom and I go, "Hey, mom, I'm in the White House." And then she goes, "Okay, I guess I'm done. Yay, I did it. I'm
Right.
done raising you. You won." And so I will take that as pride. But
Absolutely.
yeah, my parents are proud. My name Lachi is short for Ulachi, which means ring of God. And my mom named me that because being born legally blind, she thought I was going to be a ring that was always going to be around her finger. So it was supposed to be like a loving ring. It turned out I ended up being probably the most independent of everyone in my family. So I always tell parents because I stimmed heavily and I didn't speak at all and I was super shy and I was very ADHD, etc. But she allowed me to just figure a lot of things out. And here I am, independent today. So
Yeah.
thanks, mom.
Absolutely. Thanks, mom. Would you say your mom is the most invincible person, or is there somebody in your life?
I have 2 moms. And they're both the most invincible person I know. My biological mom, Chief Dr. Marcelina, has won humanitarian awards. I mean, she's a professor. She was a dean at one point. She gives back to her country. She's a hardcore Catholic. She's actually going now to meet the bishop, which
Oh
like
my gosh.
okay, like, do
Yeah.
you, girl? Um, she raised 7 kids. I mean, she is a badass. She was separated from my dad, and so just did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Huge badass. All of her children are successful. Then there's my disability mom, who was Judy Human, and
Yeah.
she would also just constantly call me at 3 a.m. asking me how I'm doing. She'd give me advice on how to be an advocate, and I'd give her advice on how to not call people at 3 a.m. That's not what we do. Um, but
Judy.
always very, very, very supportive of what we were doing. She's one of the backbones to what gave me the impetus to start Ramp too, because I had like this go viral of me speaking with the Grammys about, music and disability. And they were all like, "You need to start this movement." And I was like, "I don't want to start a movement. I want to save my dying career right now." But, Judy talked me into it. And she obviously is a powerhouse. My song Lift Me Up, which ended up being like the viral disability pride anthem of 2023, was about her. I choke up every time I think about her and how her and my mom met once. To have my mom meet Judy Human before Judy passed has always like been etched in my mind. So
That's an
R.I.P. my love.
incredible moment. Yes. Yes. Well, Lachi, I skipped a question on purpose. We touched on it many, many, many times, but I think it's the perfect way to round out our conversation. What's the next obstacle that Lachi's going to overcome?
Mm. Wow, I like that question. I actually really like that. I don't think anyone's asked me that. It's like, what's the next obstacle? Because it's not like, what are you going to be in 5 years? Like, okay, here's
Right.
my resume and my trajectory. I think I continue to peel back the layers of isms, right? The biggest hurdle for me was my internalized ableism. This is why I wrote this book, because that has been one of the most, liberating. And I'm still struggling with my internalized ableism because there are some disabilities that I talk about openly, which is my blindness, which I'm super proud of. I love my ADHD. There's some disabilities I'm downright loving, but there's others that are more difficult, like my OCD. Like sometimes it takes me a while to recognize I'm deep in OCD territory. So I'm working through a lot of those. A couple of other isms that I'm still trying to work through is my internalized racism, right? We all have just internalized isms that we deal with. And mine is race, gender, my queer identity, my disability identity. And so I think one of the biggest obstacles that I want to try to start working on is this idea of like a combination of Blackness and disability. I want to be able to stand very comfortable in my Black disabled skin, which I am doing very proudly, but I just want to be able to start to build true community around that. I want to be able to also deal with some of my internalized anti-queer identities because I am queer, right? And so I want to be able to stand in that as loudly and proudly as possible and start to build that within my disability community loudly and proudly. And I mean, I'm just saying that here to be as truthful and honest with myself. I mean, I don't even think I've said this to myself. So
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
as truthful as honest with myself as possible is that, yes, I'm proud of my disability identity and I'm proud of my Black identity and I'm proud of my queer identity. But I want to be able to stand in my Black disability identity and my queer disability identity, those combinations loudly and proudly as well. So maybe you'll start to see me a little more dragged up, celebrating
Yes.
my fruitiness. Maybe you'll start to see me a little more sister gal as well. So there you go with Lachi.
Lachi, listen, if you want to do drag together, I will happily do it with you.
I'm
That's
here
something.
for it.
It's something I'm trying to embrace too. It's more feminine. That's the word, I guess.
Meminem.
Male, female. Like it's the
Sure,
not
meminin.
necessarily.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not the fluidness of it all, but I dressed up as a kid to get beautified like that, and I
It's
loved how you
the
touched on it for
liberation
me.
of it.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Let's do it. Girl.
okay.
I
I
love it.
mean, things are manifested in. That's what it is. So, well, I will just say, Lachi, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Thank you for telling the world something that you haven't even really told yourself. And really, that is all of us can find power in speaking from our voice, from our heart, and from within us. I think we'd all be on a little bit better of a trajectory. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Talk soon. And check out Lachi's book.
January 27, 2026, pre-order.
Bye, everybody.